Hey everybody, welcome to another YouTube video with Raptors Republic. I'm Samson Folk, of course, and I recently did a piece on how Scottie Barnes is being treated by defenses that are sinking on him. Brought a lot of film, talked about what's happening, the really great aspects of it, and I want to talk about the really great aspects of it with somebody who's better at analyzing basketball than I am, and introduce them to the channel, to the people watching, and it's Josh Codinera. For many people who, if you're aware of a lot of the players who were popular in the GTA over the past 10 years, Toronto, he played against a lot of them. He's now a professional scout for On Point Scouting. He's a Filipino League legend. And we're here to talk about Scottie Barnes and how interesting his game has been. Do you want to tell anybody about yourself before we get into it?
I think I don't have much to say, but yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're just going to pop into some film. I've collected some clips. One of my favorite things about Josh is he has very unique and novel takeaways, and typically more technical than you're expecting to see than most people, than myself even. The Christian colloquial piece that many people are aware of. I asked Josh, like, hey, I'm looking for some terminology and some things to look for in drop, footwork, disposition, all this kind of stuff, timing. And he was able to help me out just so I could use more terminology that Christian would be aware of coming from Sierra Canyon, all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about Scottie Barnes. Okay, film time. We'll set the scene.
Yeah.
This is Scottie Barnes' first look at this, basically. Teams had played low on him before
Yeah.
coming into this season, but not nearly this low. Indiana, even though teams have done it since then, and I don't know why, because Scottie has succeeded against it, but even though teams have done it since then, I think Indiana was the most egregious. Maybe Milwaukee, but they both have Miles Turner
Yeah.
and Brook Lopez, which makes this simple. Anyway, you're seeing the first couple possessions of Scottie, witnessing this in front of him and trying to problem solve on the fly.
I think naturally Scotty's kind of like he's very upright just because his hips are so high. When he looks to attack, when he's given that much space, he's kind of over processing, but I feel like it kind of works out in his favor because he doesn't have to try to get past people's hips. It's like I'm just gonna look, navigate, check out all my options, which he's done kind of throughout his entire career being raised as a guard. He'd look around and then do the guard thing where you use your eyes, check every option, and then from there problem solves like you said and figures out, okay, if I attack the space, can I draw anybody towards me, or am I just gonna make a quick pass out and then set a screen for them so that we can find a way to create a 2-on-1 type of thing? So
When it comes to being like a checkpoint player
Mhm.
versus a guy who doesn't, a lot of players operate in a very linear fashion. They're not
Mhm.
looking for this branching, these branches, these options. It could be a bunch of different things, which
Yeah.
is Scotty's talked about this,
Mhm.
what he's looking for and how the floor process is in front of him. But
Mhm.
when it comes to like a checkpoint player, players
Yeah.
that you've seen versus not doing it, what are the pros and cons?
Of being a
Like,
guy that kind of like analyzes the floor
yeah,
or as opposed to just kind of making the decision right
yeah,
away.
yeah.
I think those are like kind of guys that grew up kind of being a kind of a play finisher as opposed to a guy that play makes for others. With Scotty, it can be good and bad. Within the flow of the offense, if he takes too long to make a decision and he's not the one who's initiating it, it can be like, okay, I'm gonna look here, I'm looking here, but then 5 seconds come off the clock and then you have to kind of make a decision for yourself to, okay, I need to make a move going towards the basket or trying to score here. So like I think it just depends on the certain situations. If he catches it and he makes a quick decision, I feel like it's better for the flow of the offense just because like everybody around him can play finish. So for him, it's like, okay, make the quick decision and then figure it out from there.
It's not surprising that you said that
Yeah.
because this is also kind of the sentiment that Nick Nurse echoed is like,
Hmm.
and also the cool thing about this is that Scotty, not only when he's in this role where he's kind of operating as this hub in the middle of the floor,
Hmm.
but when he's the lead ball handler, he loves to inject pace
Yeah.
into the offense. He is not as capable at breaking down his defender, drawing help, and rotating the defense as some other guys on the roster,
Hmm.
particularly Pascal, if they're going to be comped as similar sized guys.
Yeah.
But he does like to probe early offense, get into these spaces where, yes, like maybe you earn a 2-on-1 that
Yeah.
you wouldn't have otherwise had. Maybe you get into a space where it's 3-on-2.
Yeah.
We see this with the way he manages lanes in transition,
Yeah.
kind of like
Exactly.
Kyle Lowry. He's always
Hmm.
able to, he'll cut a guy out of the play, even if it means slowing down and taking away a layup that he might have had
Yeah.
to open up a pass to
Pass
another
or
guy.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So without watching the rest of this,
Yeah.
what is your ideal way to attack? Like, and I know it's not
Hmm.
as easy, but it's in a pick and roll. What is the first option? to score. It's not the roll, it's not
Mhm.
it's not the short roll, it's not the pass to the corner.
Yeah.
So when you see a guy with Scotty's skill set,
Yeah.
all this space in front of him, what's the first thing you'd like to see happening?
That's a good question. I think for me it's kind of just stick to what feels comfortable for him. If he speeds up too much, the aspects of his game that kind of make him effective, like being able to make a passing read or see over the defense and kind of make a decision from there. But at the same time, within the flow of the offense, make a quick decision, make his reads quicker, make his scans quicker, and then from there try to find the best option for himself.
I guess it's so the
Mhm.
big difference is leaning on his movement skills
Yes.
versus leaning on his ball skills.
Yeah.
And there's a nice intersection at some point where, we're going to see a play later on with Gary Trent Jr. where Scotty's coming downhill and
Mhm.
can make a pass against the defense at the back end, making a bad rotation,
Okay.
getting caught on a switch, something like that, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of these plays, they work out well because Scotty, not only is he talented on ball and will grow a lot that way as he goes in the future, but he's a large, marauding big man
Yeah.
who can trigger actions and actually reads the floor really well to decide where people should go, how to open up his teammates' plays. So the next few plays we're going to see, the first two, obviously, he was confused as to what he's seeing in front of him.
Mhm.
These are quicker decisions being made. So I'm curious what you think about these next few.
Yeah, if we could go back to the first one, within that set. Uh,
This one,
yeah. What do you think about when he gets the ball back from Gary
right?
and he gets into this pick and roll over here?
Yeah,
Like it's a pistol screen.
yeah.
What's nice about Scott, like you have OG in the corner there, and O'Shea can't really like play off of him too much. What's nice about Scotty is that he's able to his instincts is to pass. So like when he gets downhill, he turns a little bit. You could see Precious putting his hand up. Yeah, with thing his back turn, that angle to pass it is just right there, as opposed to like when you're a smaller guard, you can't really like you can't see past Jalen Smith, or it's harder to see past it.
Right.
So then from there he kind of gets into one dribble, and it's just a he just throws it up there to Precious for the alley oop.
Well, I think he gets to make this pass later
Mm-hmm.
because not only because Jalen wants to stay down because Scotty is a threat to turn the corner and get to the rim,
True.
or if it's a smaller player,
Yeah.
you can open up more, right?
Yeah.
And you can expect to catch up with your length of the rim.
Yeah.
And also with Scotty's length, it means like there doesn't have to be any arc on the pass, right?
Yeah.
Like this
Exactly.
pass he's making, it I don't know, does this get over the rim at any point in time? Not really,
No, not
right? Like
really. Yeah.
that's a hell of a thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, very impressive play.
Yeah.
And then this one, I just love. How often do you see a player kind of navigate the floor
Mm-hmm.
in this fashion, right? Because he's on the catch,
Yeah.
he maintains the space. Miles plays way higher than people might have expected, but
Yeah.
they were probably comfortable with Neesmith and rotating over to help against Barnes at
Yeah.
this point in the game. He walks Matherin out of that show,
Yeah.
and then that quick pickup. Like when you watch that play, what are the dominant skills you see kind of popping up?
So just being able to use his body and like to protect the ball in that way. So he gets it. It's an in and out. It's another in and out, and he kind of walks into it and then messes with the timing
Yeah.
of Miles. It's another in and out, but then it's quick, and then Miles is like, okay, how do I put my hands up to contest that? I think it's pretty cool because like a lot of guys don't know how to play with pace with their pickups like that.
Mhm.
Um, Most guys try to beat guys to the backboard, but that's after that they get their gather
Right.
and they find that control. He always plays very wide and on balance, so that when you're on balance like that, it's easier for you to kind of manipulate your pace on how you rise up. He gets to the middle of Miles' chest, and he finds ways to like always like when he attacks bigs, he kind of finds ways to put his shoulder into the middle of the defender or the big, and he kind of bumps him in the shoulder, and it finishes with his length.
Mhm.
And because he has 7+ wingspan, it's kind of harder to block. And then luck good thing for him, he has great touch.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah.
was so last year when I did that piece where I watched like every possession
Yeah.
through, I guess, like maybe 35 games of the season. the number one trait that popped out to me was that ability to, he gets wide.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't manipulate with his steps.
Yeah.
A lot of guards, you switch the steps
Yep.
and it completely throws the big man's timing.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, he's crab walking down the
Yeah.
lane, right?
Yeah.
And he's bashing you while he's doing it. Like
Yeah.
you feel him, he's on balance, but he's applying a lot of pressure.
Yes.
Always has inertia going forward.
Mm-hmm.
But he messes guys up with his pickup point.
Yeah.
And like and he has a really uncanny ability to always square himself
Yes.
to the basket.
Yeah.
We see this happen even with Pascal, who's very talented at managing, I would say, his velocity and his balance while being off kilter.
Yeah.
But Scottie manages to always be on kilter. You
Yes.
know, like
Yeah.
that's the difference, and
Yeah.
they're both fantastical in doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have some screening I just want to talk about, and
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
for
like
sure.
hunting space for his teammates rather than himself. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll let this play, and then we'll kind of ask you, you know, we're what, 5 plays in, what you've thought of the screening so far, and the chase aspect of it.
It's crazy because like big guys usually take time to like gather and then go up, but with Scottie it's just like even from it's down here it goes straight. He has that like upper body control to like and coordination to kind of just go straight into it.
So what do you make of the screening at this point?
No, I think it's good. I think what the aspect that I do like about it is that the fact that he finds ways to go into open spaces that kind of either makes him open or just kind of puts pressure on the defense to worry about. So like here he screens for, or Fred rejects it, but then he gets down low and then mismatch on Neesmith and he just bodies the hell out of him and then gets to his pattern and slight hook with his body facing perpendicular to the rim. So it's yeah.
And this is a classic example of like Scottie will be able to develop his ball skills for a long time, and that's a very interesting aspect of his development. But that play, like trying to put down a screen, moving off of it, getting the ball back, and just like quickly, it's not about Scottie at the top of the arc. Like if Pascal gets that ball,
Yeah.
Pascal is squaring up, triple threat going to work, right? And
Yep.
Scottie wants to get to that point, no doubt.
Yeah.
But in this situation, what he does is he moves it quickly onto Fred,
Yep.
takes the opportunity to put a screen. Even if he gets rejected, he goes and does work elsewhere by clearing out space and eventually gets the ball back.
Yeah.
It's really, even though he scores, selfless basketball. For a young star, really nice to see.
Yeah, it is.
You know, delay action, all this kind of stuff. Scottie feels like the architect of these possessions. They put him in a position where he can kind of dictate who's cutting. He's picking guys to run actions with, and he has a really great feel. This is late in the game against Portland, and you know, in some of the other games too, that he's calling the shots and he feels like he's the architect of these possessions. So I'm curious what you think of the decisions he's making. You notice that he calls for the ball instead of setting the screen. I'm pretty sure, like, look at the hand. He's like, there, yep. Give me the ball. Let me run this. Breaks down the communication, and then like just a great pass coming downhill.
Like he kind of plays a lot like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like those guards that want to give the ball to people, and you could go to a pickup run and it's like that old guy that kind of just like, oh hey, come here, I'll set a screen for you, or give it to me right here, and I know that if I make this move, I'm gonna find you on the opposite side, or I can find you a nice cut there. You know what I mean?
Like he's found, you know, there's guys who they know they can beat a guy, but there's guys, and I think this applies to Scottie, there's guys who see kind of how the back end of the defense is reacting to things, and he's not hunting per se the win at the one-on-one level. He's hunting the structural win. Like when he tells Gary, like, give me the ball here, and he comes downhill, I think he's expecting like a breakdown. Like he's looking for something in particular. And on the other play where OG, like they do that give and go, they get a dunk. That's more reactionary than this one against Portland. But it's still like just kind of taking what's in front of him, expecting like if I go up, Brook, even though we play so low, he's coming out. Like it's just I totally get what you're saying about the guy who's playing to beat the structure of the defense rather than his guy.
I like the way that you kind of presented in that way, because that's how, like when I play, that's how I look at the game, is that I try to finding ways to beat them structurally and like creating 3-on-2s, or like he catches it here and then boom, Nurkic steps up Anthony's late, and then he flings it to Gary, who's wide open. And same thing here, kind of catches it in the middle. Lopez is okay. I'm guarding two guys here. Fake shot, and then he's passing it.
Yeah, he continues to impress me.
Hmm.
For Raptors fans, I do make a lot of references to Kyle Lowry, but the audience understands it. Kyle Lowry is the king of introducing the 3-on-2 or the 2-on-1 in the half court, right? Like
Yeah,
Kyle knows he can beat certain guys, but Kyle also knows like if I wait this extra beat, the strong side is going to try and sink back, and then I'm going to get a 2-on-1 just because he understands when the defense is trying to find its form again,
yeah,
that cracks exposed. Like there is carrying advantage, and there is like guys like Dean Wade who like in Cleveland
yeah,
it seems like a not that great a player, but he's always a guy who makes quick decisions, puts the ball down. But guys like Kyle Lowry, guys like Scottie Barnes, there's a bunch of players like that in the league, but these are the players that
yeah,
the audience will know is that these are the guys who know when to put the ball down quick
yeah,
and know when to wait a beat, and that's when it opens up. Draymond is also a really good example.
yeah,
Sabonis, if you want guys who operate in these like dribble handoff
yeah.
sets.
With those guys, I kind of call them like they have the point guard eyes, or
Mhm.
if that makes sense. They kind of always looking for opportunities. Like, okay, I'll use my eyes to manipulate this guy to cut quickly, or I'm gonna drive into this area, draw the guy next to me, and then I'm gonna swing it out to the corner for a corner three, or I'm gonna set a screen right away and roll, and then right there I'm in the teeth of the defense, one dribble, and then the defense comes in, I'm swinging it out. Or like I'm manipulating with my eyes. As soon as I catch it in the middle, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the corner, but I see the guy at the 45. He's open, swing it.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Predicting rotation, like
yeah,
it's just a huge deal. And then so this is just I put this in the piece
hmm,
just because it's Scotty shooting. Because
yeah,
I know a lot of people wanted like a lot of I put this in here to be
hmm,
petty actually to some degree because a lot of people were making the Ben Simmons comparison,
hmm,
and Ben Simmons is great. His defense I think is still underrated, his passing is underrated,
hmm,
some of his driving is underrated, but Scotty, the thing about him is, and I wrote this in the piece, is like he will throw himself headfirst into his limitations. This is a guy who everybody remembers like the bang
hmm,
after he hit a three in
yeah,
summer league.
yeah,
We look at this like the pause on the jumper here. It doesn't look good, but
yeah,
he's willing to take those reps because again, this is a guy understanding the game. He's like, the defense needs to see me take
yes,
these.
yeah,
And he's willing to embrace his
yeah.
limitations to do that. So I just threw this in there for that purpose.
Yeah, and I think it's important that the shots that you are open and is within the flow of the offense you do take is just it's important to take because it doesn't stagnate it, and then the next time you come down the floor, naturally you're going to be weary. Despite even though the guy misses, naturally it's like that's a good shot. That okay, I need to guard that even though he's open and percentage wise he's not a great shooter. You
Yeah.
know.
So sometimes, and people talk about this on. This isn't like um, the most unique and esoteric basketball info,
Yeah.
but it's like sometimes you have to take the shot just so the defense sees you take the shot.
Yeah.
Like broadcasts talk about this. You hear it in the bar. Everybody knows this to be even if it isn't necessarily statistically true on some level.
Yeah.
There's a human aspect to basketball, of course,
For
where
sure.
the
Yeah.
defense needs to see something sometimes. And so we'll just watch all of these
Hmm.
because like it's the holistic experience of sitting down and seeing Scottie Barnes go for 19 in the fourth quarter and overtime against Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo. So we'll just watch all these clips and then we'll kind of talk about it at the end because it's pretty absurd shot making. Like that is just like he knows Brook is sinking, so he's like, I'm gonna use this opportunity as a cutter like this
Yeah.
too, right? Like he realizes the shift is coming over, points out the corner, then he's like, okay, let me get this back. This one, it's like absorbing and like, man, he's so good at getting Brook, and this one's just really nice finish. But he's so good at getting Brook on his heels, right?
Yeah.
Like man, there are problems with Scotty's game, but Jesus, some of this stuff is just
Yeah, it's crazy because like it's for me it's the balance that's what I like the most about him
yeah.
is that the when he
You're
get yeah
like everybody else and their mom
yeah
on this is like you're taking, I don't know, he picks it up
yeah
there.
yeah
There's like point 0.5, maybe a full second that a lot of other players are taking on that.
yeah
But he's like, he's so sure of his ability to like get the ball in his hands,
Yeah.
square to the rim, and just pop it up. That
Hmm.
he's like, I'm not wasting any time. It's even great finishers at the rim, even great post hubs are not comfortable
Yeah.
grabbing the ball like as it's floating around and just going up that quickly. They
Yeah.
want to set.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about that,
Yeah.
like at all.
Yeah, and I think with him, he kind of plays. He plays a little bit. He Even though he's known as a guy that doesn't play with bend, when he's bumping guys, he has like naturally you have to be lower than the guy. So when he's there and he's driving and he's low like that, to kind of be in that like compact position or like wide compact position, I'd say
Mhm.
he's it's the load up time is not much because he's already low, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if we could replay this real quick. So he gets into the key here, one bump, and then once he gets that first bump, he's already low that you can just kind of rise up into it. Most guys kind of get off balance, like
You know what
yeah,
I think it
yeah,
is that like they talk about doing there's a early works in so many different
hmm,
I guess situations on the basketball court. There's like early work finding space down on the block
yeah,
in transition. There's early work as in like get ready, be set for when the ball comes as a shooter. And
yeah,
with Scotty being, as you say, low and wide,
hmm,
it's almost like simulating always being ready as a set shooter,
yeah,
except he's as a guy who can, since he has that base that doesn't really change, that he always maintains, he's always on balance, he can pick up at any
at
point in
any
time.
point, yeah,
Pascal is a guy who we see slither. Every once in a while, Pascal can throw his shoulder in and beat a
hmm,
guy down,
yeah,
especially guys who are like 6'7" and under 220 pounds.
yeah,
He'll beast and feast. But a lot of the times, like he's slithering and he's getting around guys, or he has like these really hard finishes. But Scotty is like, we think of it, you know, there's like a wall. Water will seep through the bottom,
yeah,
but like a bulldozer will also get through the wall to some
yeah,
degree. Like there are different ways to do things, and Scotty's is very unique at the NBA level.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And like he always plays off two. Pascal kind of plays more of one, I'd say.
Yes, totally.
But he always plays off two, and with that, you don't have to like manipulate the ball too much with your hands to kind of like with pickups and stuff. You're kind of just always protecting it, and from there, you can like you said, he could just rise up at any point. So
That's a great, playing off one versus two. Like
mhm.
Pascal, when he spins, pirouettes off of 1 foot, but Scotty is like this elongated drop step. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Because
yes, it is.
that's
Yeah,
two. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a really great point.
hmm,
Yeah. Any other takeaways from watching this? Like using space as a cutter.
hmm,
I wouldn't call any of these really stampede cuts because it's not like above the break. Really, it's not
yeah,
working its way there. But using space as a cutter, taking advantage of the space in front of him, and actually being able to finish over a guy like Lopez, who
Lopez.
it's Brooke Lopez. Like the Raptors didn't hit their first like 18 shots of this game, and it was largely because of his presence.
Yeah. Um, I I think one thing I noticed, like, and this is kind of not as a cutter or anything, but it's more of how he shoots and his mechanics, because that's something I do pay I kind of focus on a lot, just because I've been a lot around a lot of trainers, so focusing on like shooting mechanics has been kind of something I've been really good at. With Scotty, his even though he's very wide in his stance, it's his upper body that kind of loses it. Sometimes he shoots with a two motion, sometimes it's one motion, but like because his body shape is just a little bit different. His arms are super long, his torso is really short. It's really hard to be compact and like have consistent mechanics all the time, so that when he like gets into his mechanics, having the perfect compactness for his body type, it kind of gets all over the place, and that's where you lose energy transfer at certain points in your body, for whether it's like your shoulders or his elbow comes out too much, and then it's almost like he's slinging it, or it's above his head too much. So just kind of, I think once he gets a little bit more coordinated in his upper body and coordinated throughout, so that that energy transfer is fluid, that's when he'll become a better shooter, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's and there's also different types of shots benefit different types of bodies. Like
yeah,
because I'm a lefty and
mhm,
my elbow is more bowed. Most lefties are like there's a little bit of me rigging it so I get a little bit more sideways on my jump shot to like to
yeah,
line up that aspect like
yeah,
that side of my body
yeah,
for a better like chain, I
yeah,
guess, right?
yeah,
And with Scotty, I totally understand like having the long arms and like the short torso is like trying to center in on this jump shot is
Yeah,
really tough to do
it
as
is.
far as repeatability.
Hmm.
As far as Scotty, just the whole thing, is there anything interesting about his game that if like a Raptors fan who liked having these in-depth conversations
Yeah,
walked up to you and said, "Give me like throw the kitchen sink at me. What do you think about Scotty Barnes outside of what we've discussed?
yeah.
What would you say about the young man?"
I think I think he's very versatile in the way that he can be used, right? So he could be a play finisher. He can set screens. He can be the one that rolls short rolls. He can be the one that finishes at the rim, um, and then from there he could, like you said, he could be the guy that triggers actions. He can be the one that kind of runs a DHO, or he can keep it. The only thing that's kind of like missing is that one-on-one aspect, or kind of attacking from a one-on-one stance, and that will come with time. Part of it's just body mechanically. It's less it's a less twitchy than like someone as Pascal is. Scotty's a lot more boxy. He kind of has to like needs momentum to get downhill, play with pace, and I think that's why he's at his best when he's going up and down. He's grabbing a rebound and he's pushing in transition, and then he has that vision that he can point guard eyes, like I said, to like kind of look at every single option, or pull it back out and then run the offense through there and kind of figure out, okay, he can be he can either be the one that kind of initiates the screen, or be the screener, which is very useful in the NBA, I'd say.
This is something I talked about last year or wrote about is when I wrote that biomechanics piece on him
Mhm.
with Polar, an MD from Korea, and he's my favorite person when
He's
it
really
comes
good.
to he and not just like biomechanics,
Yeah.
just basketball. He
Hmm.
knows so much, but
Hmm.
he was talking about how curved drives are the best way to take
Hmm.
advantage of Scotty's athleticism. This is like 7 games into his NBA career, right?
Yeah.
And this stuff has shown up over the first, I guess at this point, he's played over 100,
Yeah.
and to see that like it's the keeper plays, it's the motion, all that kind of stuff where it's like, as you said, going from a standstill is tough, especially high hips,
Yes.
long legs. How do whether you're somebody who played hockey, it's like the hockey skates versus the long stride of the speed skater, right? Scotty in the open court when he's already started is a blur.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
he's not only is he making great decisions, but he's under control, he's fast, he's strong in the half court with those long legs. It's hard to just like get
Get
going
going.
and
Yeah.
beat guys with the first step. That isn't the strength of his game.
Yeah.
But all these sets that get him in motion, like that, just you talked about that pistol screen, right?
Yeah.
From Thad that came up, he's able to snake the pick and roll and throw that lob. Like those types of plays that feature him in motion before the screen
Yeah.
comes, rather than these, there's like a lot of players that like they sit there in the triple threat, the screen kind of like snuggles up to them, they like try and
They
manipulate.
jab. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
jab and manipulate their point of attack defender, but
Yeah.
that'll it's tough to imagine that being his game.
Yeah.
He'll do that kind of stuff when he's got the ball within 15 feet and he's able to just beat guys towards the basket. But
Yeah.
like putting him in motion and allowing his vision to see what's in front of him, all this kind of stuff, that's my favorite aspect of Scotty's game.
For
And
sure.
this role
Hmm.
utilizes him like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
just awesome. Any parting shots before we get out of here?
Oh man! Shout out to the group chat.
Yeah.
um, yeah. I think basketball is something that's really important to me. So it's been fun to kind of have this opportunity, and kind of I appreciate you, man. So yeah, shout out to all the people that I grew up with and played ball with, and because of you, that's why I'm here. So
Hell yeah. If anybody wants to get some fantastic insights on not only like the NBA, not only basketball in general, but if you're somebody who likes to pay attention to prospects, this is the guy at Josh Scoutum. It'll be linked not only on raptorsrepublic.com, but in the description of the YouTube channel. He's my favorite person when it comes to seeing somebody analyze the game, especially through a medium like Twitter. Most scouts are not getting on and like explaining the film in YouTube and stuff like that. So being able to kind of take a video on Twitter, put into words what's happening and have it be digestible so that people can learn about the game, learn about prospects, and then evaluate based on that. He's just doing so much work like that. It's fantastic. So check him out, please. For anybody listening, if you want to read this kind of stuff, subscribe at raptorsrepublic.com. That's the most important one. Like the video, and yeah, take care. We'll see you.
Peace.